All right, so this is Gill's Python 3 APIs presentation in summer 2023. So Gill's project was inspired by the problem that occurs when counting manually, which is miscounting. Gill stuck with it with the goal of creating something that would allow anyone to count to any number they want. This was accomplished using methods that would make the counter reusable so it doesn't have to be rerun. So Gill learned multiple things for her project, which was object-oriented programming and properties and methods, which are integral to object-oriented programming. So you can see an example of her using object-oriented programming in this first picture on the left. Object-oriented programming is implemented all throughout the code, most prominently used in the first section, the initialization of the counter class. The second one that we mentioned, properties and methods, are also part of object-oriented programming and are used in the counter class. They contain several methods allowing specific actions to be performed. So here are some examples of the code that Gill has shown. The first one initializes the counter object without any input. It sets the initial value to 0, self.val equals 0, and creates a list history to store the history of counts made, starting with 0. As you can see on the right, here are the methods and properties that are part of the object, and we're going to break down each one. All of these do not take an input, as you can see, but the method increments the value of the counter by 1 with a plus equals. The second one, peak, prints the current value of the counter by printing self.val. The third one resets the counter back to 0. And the fourth one, undo, undoes the previous action by going back in the history and retrieving that value so that it can print it again. So now we're going to do a live demonstration of how the code works. You can share your screen. Sure. So as you can see, she's able to load up a menu, which is part of the loop. She's able to peek and see how many enters she just did, which is 5. She's able to reset it, peek again, and it's reset to 0. She undoes that, and it's once again put back to 5. She enters 5 more times. She peeks and sees it's 10. And then with an undo, she's able to bring it back to 9, and you can see in that view here. And then again, she can undo again and view there at 8. She is able to then quit, and it shows where she stopped and the history, the full history list. Thank you. So Gill had a few things that she really liked about this particular course, and that was defining the methods within the counter class. She says that the process of figuring out which methods perform which actions was enjoyable in the sense that it provides a general outline of what the project is going to accomplish. Defining the last undo method also briefly touches upon things one can do regarding lists, which was a new concept for her. She has some ideas also how to improve the project. She noted that the first point can be fixed, or we implement a more robust undo mechanism that can handle multiple undo actions. She suggests that the first point could be fixed changing line 17. Instead of setting self-val to the value at the index of previous in the history list, it sets it to the index itself. To fix this, the line self.val equals history, self.history.index previous could be changed to self.val equals self.history previous in brackets and square brackets. The second one, which is to add input validation to manage invalid user inputs, is instead of letting the option of pressing the enter key be the else statement, set it as an elif statement. Then add an else statement for cases where the response is invalid, is invalid and print an error message. And then the third one, which is to provide more user-friendly instructions or messages, she would like to rewrite the instructions so that they can be better rephrased. And thank you. That would be Gill's presentation.